it, boss.
Hello, I'm Aidan, and for 3 years now, these have been my boys. Under the leadership of Gred Guldreg, the ranks of the Tough Boys have swelled from a measly combat patrol to an implacable horde of dead-eyed goths. Kits bought brand new, squads bought second-hand and refurbished, characters made from solely spare parts, vehicles comprised of old toys and garbage. My orcs are a one-of-a-kind labor of love that has fascinated and comforted me like few other things have. But I never see them anymore. At the beginning of this year, I moved cities from Brisbane to Sydney and had to leave all of my hobby stuff behind. My lads sat out of sight on this shelf for months and months. I'm only able to show you all of them now because I'm back in town staying with my family for Christmas and to do work over the school holidays in January. The Waaagh, it seems, has ended. Not as it should have ended, in a deafening clamour of gratuitous violence, but in an empty stillness. I'm Aidan, and these were my boys. But these will be my boys!
What?
Okay, so I just wanted to be a little dramatic about not having my goths with me all the time. Sue me, I can't take my existing collection down to Sydney, but I can stuff a few infantry units in my suitcase, maybe pick up a kill team, and bada bing bada boom, I'm up to 1,000 points all over again. But what to build? Orcs, obviously. Orcs is the best. It's my passion, it's my brand. I can't imagine doing anything but collecting orcs. But what clan? Something that isn't goths. Ideally something very, very different. Goths are great. I love them. They are the platonic orc. But they can be a little bit limiting in how you paint them and in how you play them. And there can be a little bit of narrative dissonance if they ever need to cooperate with another faction. I've done a lot of community doubles tournaments or 2-on-2 crusade games where it just feels a bit strange that the orcs need the excuse of, we'll outcompete these guys and then kill them after, every time. There's not that much nuance to it. Blood Axes had some appeal for this reason. They have a lot of diverse unit types, you can get a little sillier in your painting with things like different colored camo patterns, and they have good reasons for cooperating with other factions. They also have some fantastic characters in recent novels. Nogrok Sneaky Guts bites the face of the face biter before it can bite, and the General come to mind. The trouble with Blood Axes for me is they commit to the bit too hard. They're trying to imitate human military, and human military bores me to death. I don't want to take the coolest faction in the game and just have them all cosplaying the lamest faction in the game. In my opinion. So are there other orcs with those same traits as Blood Axes? Eclectic groups of specialized infantry, different strange colors, cooperating and working as mercenaries for other orcs and even other non-orcs? There are. Or should I say, there are. Look at my forehead in this hat. Now that's a Jackstorm's forehead. And that's a Bricky forehead. Freebooters are orc pirates. Not technically a clan, but rather a label given to all exiles and outcasts who no longer have a clan to call their own. These ragtag weirdos serve as mercenaries to war bosses and even to other factions on occasion.
What's in it for old Blood Flag, eh?
Giving you money is pointless. Giving you technology is obviously out of the question. But I can give you a fight. 3 Imperial regiments, a battlefield of your choosing.
Throw in that hat, and you got a deal.
Certainly not, green skin.
No hat, no deal. Kill your own posh humans and leave the orcs out of it.
They spend a lot more time spacefaring and raiding ships than they do sieging planets on the ground. They dress extravagantly, they collect treasure, they sing silly shanties. They're pirates! Over the past month or so, I've been making these kind of vague, in-character community posts about an orc warband who's stolen a ship and flown off to kill and plunder. I wanted to kind of tease out what this video could be. Now, my collection isn't complete, obviously, but I'd like to show you the early stages of my Skurvy Gitz, because I'm really excited to share, and I think some of these tips might be helpful for other people who might want to invest in freebooters. They're not one of the big talked about clans, and usually people who do freebooters get 3D printed parts or third-party models. I want to show you how you can do it with just Games Workshop kits. For my goths, the basing scheme is dead simple. A grill and earth. That's it, no additional painting, no bits and bobs, just a layer of steel legion drab, in case some of it flakes off, and then a grill and earth. The bases lack pizzazz, but they seem like the lesser of two evils when I was starting out. The other option I was aware of was you do a layer of sand, and then glue, and then another texture paint, and then you wash it, you dry brush it, you put on 2 little tiny tufts of grass, and then 1 little pebble. That was equally uninteresting to me for several times more effort and time spent doing it. If I had to redo my goth spaces, which I might do at some point, I'd want it to be a really reddy brown, like a ferrous red brown, like the surface of Mars or the central desert of Australia. I think it'd be a nice complement to the bits of red in the goth color scheme and be a great contrast to make the yellowy skin pop. The freebooters, though, spend all their time on a spaceship, so their bases have got to look like they're spending time on a spaceship. I've taken inspiration from 3 different tutorials on how to make the bases look like the interior of a spaceship. Midwinter Minis, Rookie Brushes, and Eons of Battle. They've all done great videos on this. These are my bases so far. I've been adhering to 2 main materials. Material number 1 is card. Thin cardboard like you would find in the boxes of cereals or Warhammer kits. This is just card laid down in sheets and scored with my knife to apply some rivets in some basic flooring. Another material I've used a lot of is this mosquito mesh repair kit. These little fly screen repair patches that I have from Bunnings that kind of look like the grill of a floor. This is an old used straw. This incorporates both and has some floral wire. This one here incorporates both and uses some zip ties as well. This one has one of my old favorite tricks where you tear up the front layer of corrugated cardboard to make it look like scale corrugated sheet metal. This one is zip ties, fly screen, and upside down zip ties for a completely different texture. They're pretty basic so far. I've tried painting a couple of them in some pretty dull colors. The actual scheme of the freebooters is probably going to be quite loud, so I want a base that doesn't really interrupt that. Some nice neutral, dingy colors. They'll try getting some splashes of dark blue and green to imply oil and moss and mold creeping around the decks of the Hulk. In the future, I hope I can snazz them up even further. Bits of packaging that have interesting texture, or bits from Imperial kits like little lights and cables, random skulls, other items that I find, but these kind of serve as a test run, a proof of concept, and I like how they're going so far. This is the kind of basing that interests me, where you can just grab a bunch of junk and muck around and see what looks fun to you. If you couldn't tell from my stomper made entirely out of garbage, I really like making things out of trash, so this has been a great outlet for that goblin behavior. So who's going to be standing on all of these bases? Well, for starters, a Wrecker Crew. I bought 2 sets of the Wrecker Crew box so that I'd have 1 of every full squad. Full set of Tank Busters, full set of Breaka Boys. That way I can run them both in 40k on the table, and I have all the options if I want to use them in Kill Team. Originally I was going to paint the Breaka Boys as Goths and the Tank Busters as Death Skulls, but I thought it'd be more fun to muck around with it a bit. Rather, I'm going for a Goths-inspired and Death Skulls-inspired paint scheme on them, while still giving them a bit more flair. Perhaps those were the clans that they were originally before they joined the Freebooter Warband, and they want to keep some of their sensibilities while still looking a bit extra flash. I've used Vince Venturalla's Payne's Grey with the dark parts of the armor, which is a very dark bluish grey. I'm hoping to push this up towards a more true blue so we can get a red-blue-green triad. Now, obviously this is unfinished. He hasn't even got all his base coats yet, and apart from the skin, I haven't really done any shading or highlighting. But I really like the direction that this is going. Part of what makes me so excited to embark on this new project is the array of different colors I'm going to be able to play around with. With Goths, it's all variations on a theme. It's about refining and perfecting the existing color palette. What's the best distribution of black, white, and red? Where can you sneak in the checks? What shade of red best offsets the shade of skin on the model? It's a very different kind of fun, and I love it. But this This feels like I'm a kid in a candy shop. Now I get to play around with blues and oranges and purples and turquoise and pink! I get to put pink on orcs! So that's been a lot of fun to mess around with so far, and I'll keep you posted on these fighty boys.
Point us at the tanks. We'll smash 'em up that good.
Now elite kill teams are all well and good, but in the words of Captain Bloodflag,
The first and the best part of the war is a good old mob of boys.
every ship needs a motley crew of deckhands and buccaneers, so let's build some boys. It's time to go back to old reliable, good old-fashioned, multi-pose boys kit. If the rumors are true, which seems more and more likely every day, orcs are going to be the antagonist faction of the next edition. That means they'll feature alongside Space Marines in the launch box and the starter set. It's almost guaranteed that we're going to get an updated boys kit when that happens. So this could be the last outing for this wonderful old box. Torsos, legs, heads, weapons! It's time to build 20 totally unique models. While the boys kit is the basis for most of this, I'm mixing in a lot of other bits from kits that have things that match the size and the feel of boys. The main thing I'm mixing in to get more legs and to get some additional flair is the Warhammer Fantasy Orc Boys mob. These tunic torsos, pouch-laden pants, and crude cleavers will make a fantastic fit for my mob of marauders. As a fun little additional challenge, just for this unit of Slugga boys, I'm going to be enforcing a no-axe policy. We're only going to be using swords, knives, and other long-bladed choppers to really sell the piratical look. When I'm working with a kit like this, I like to lay out all the duplicates of each part, and then try and make sure I have as many unique combinations as possible. Let's get started! And here's how we're looking with every part evenly distributed. So we've got different legs, heads, and torsos all over the place, and I've used blue tack for most of them, if I'm not sure what exactly I want the posing to be with their weapons yet. That way, once I get to assigning the arms, I can twist around the torsos and the positioning of the head to make sure it fits the pose that really suits the weapon I'm giving them. I'm taking this very medieval looking chopper and scraping away the gothic details near the bottom. Then I'm going to cut down the blade a little bit so it morphs from an old fantasy sword into more of a falchion kind of shape. That only ended up looking even more fantasy, like a big crooked goblin knife. I'll just take the sword of this decoration from the Fantasy Boys kit, take off this little notch, and fix it to the hilt. There we go. I'm also taking this chopper from the artist formerly known as Boyz, the Black Orcs kit, and snipping away its very cutlassy looking blade to stick it on something with a more appropriate arm. For sluggers, it's mostly business as usual, but there are only 5 unique pistols in the kit. I'm going to be replacing one of them with this Commando Slugga. And for the other 2, we're going to do a little bit of surgery. We're going to take 2 shooters, cut off their barrels, reattach their muzzles, and now they've been reduced to sluggers. This squad needs a rocket boy. How about instead of giving him a normal rocket, we use one of these spare heavy rocket launchers from the Wrecker Crew kit. And finally, we need a boss knob. Taking inspiration from these artworks, I want to make a hook-handed knob. This buzzsaw from the Death Dread kit has a lovely spiky hook on the top of it. Let's take it, and affix it to a severed limb, stick on a battery-looking thing, and hey presto, we have a power hook. Let's give him this head with the stitches and the bionic eye that has the same kind of silhouette and energy as an eye patch. Now for a boss pole, I was originally considering using this one with the skull on top of it, but I thought it might be better to take this crossbone one from the Nobs kit, attach this decorative skull from the Boys kit, and make a proper Jolly Roger skull and crossbones. This boss pole also has a tassel attached to it. Now previously with my Goths, I was cutting off every tassel and every hair squeak. I figured they would find them to be runty and impractical. Mucking about, they might say. But for a band of freebooters, a little flash like this would be very welcome. That's 10 boys down and we've got 10 to go. But these, for the first time ever in my entire hobbering career, I'm going to build as Shoota boys. We've got the same issue of unique shooters in that there's only 5 in the kit, as there was with sluggers. For one of them, I'm going to cut down this big shooter with the bayonet from the looter's kit. And for the other 2, we'll do the inverse of what we did for the sluggers. Take 2 sluggers, cut up 2 shooter barrels, attach them to the end, and now they've been extended to shooter size. Let's build another rocket boy, a lot more trad than the previous one, and let's give him a fight jaw to match the one the other git had. Look at the difference in energy between these 2 lads, even though they're functionally the same model. God, I love orcs. Now for this unit's boss nob, I want to be a little bit morky in how he's put together. I'd like to make an orc that is bigger and more ostentatious than the regular boys, but who is still smaller and doesn't outshine Meathook, the other nob we just made. I'm going to be using the Boyz kit nob's torso for this. It's very useful because even though it goes on the same height of Legz, it's a little bit bigger, so we get a middle stage in size between a boy and the nob from Blackreach. Let's give him the nob Slugga, with a scope to denote that he's a little snazzier and that he's leading the shooter boys. And for his weapon, I have this bit from the Flash Gitz kit, a bionic arm holding a cutlass. It's perfect, but the blade looks a little runty to pass for a big chopper. So instead, I'm going to remove it and replace it with this jagged, curved cleaver from the Age of Sigmar Iron Jaws Brutes. That looks much killier. This also helps give him a clear vertical focal point, which a boss pole would do, but now that he doesn't have one, I think he'll sneak more easily into a unit of 20 boys if I field them all together. See what we're doing here? On his own, he's the boss nob with big chopper, but in a mob, he can be just another slugger boy. For one last detail, I've got this shield with the orc glyph and the human hand nailed to it from the Fantasy Boys kit. I really like this, but I don't think these orcs would be using shields. I don't want any of my boys carrying shields, that's wimpy. Instead, let's just smack it on his back. I'd like to imagine that this is not a shield, but maybe the top of a barrel, and after draining all the grog, this orc just ripped off the lid and lashed it to their back as a little bit of extra armor.
We've got it. Can we shoot stuff now?
There's 20 jolly freebooters, all finished. Not quite. I think they need some more flash. Let's decorate them. Pauldrons, stick bombs, glyphs, hair squigs, random decorations from wherever I can find them. Things that will sell these as not just orc pirates, but extravagant orc pirates. Now that they're all dripped out, I want to do one last extra step, just to make them even more piratical. What would a good pirate be without a peg leg? So I've got a couple of lads here who I think would stand to be a little flashier, who have nice poses that could benefit from a peg leg. And I've gone looking through some kits, and luckily I've been able to use pretty much exclusively the Boyz kit for this, to find some cylindrical objects that will make good peg legs. We have a shooter barrel, the bottom of a boss pole, a stick bomb, this knife that can go on someone's belt, from the Fantasy Boys kit, this miscellaneous spike. We'll use the barrel of the shooter, the bottom of the boss pole, as much of the stick bomb as we can. Ideally we want the head, hopefully it's a dud, the handle of the blade here, and as much of the spike as we can, with the point just trimmed down a bit. Handle separate from the blade. Let's take a look at our lad and see how the size of the peg leg lines up with the size of the foot, because we do still want this to sit flat on the base. We might have to take off the bolt at the end. It's a shame, it's a nice detail. If we clip down this bolt here, if we clip down the base of the blade that's still attached to the handle here, we should have something that's about the same size as this lad's foot. But that means foot's got to go. I'm going to take our clippers, use the bottom of the trouser as a nice guide. We should be able to get a good flush cut, and you might feel a little tingle. There we go. Defeated. Grab our handle again. We'll definitely be trimming this base of the blade, but let's keep the bolt for now if we can. Never, just kidding, I totally removed the handle. That might be the height we needed to keep the bolt on the end. Happy accidents. Let's use some blue tack to see if it can sit flush on a base. Blue tack the leg. Nice and thin. I don't want it to alter the measurements too much. As little as possible. Press it all the way in See if we can get pretty much plastic to plastic. Now this foot here is flat, so using the base of our blade, we'll hold it flat against the floor, and that looks okay. There's a world in which this works, I think. And if it doesn't, I have more blades to work with, and absolute worst case scenario, we can always just reattach his boot and tidy up some of the details where it might have been warped by the clippers. Glue him up, attach the peg leg. Now we already know that this model, even when it had both feet, can't really stand on its own just by gravity. But I'm going to turn him upside down. We're going to see if I can press the foot first flat against this one, then flat against both of them. Pretty good. There's a tiny bit of rise, but it's absolutely minuscule. And I think that's going to be pretty good. If we trim the bolt, I think we'll go too far in the other direction. So I'm happy to call this a successful peg leg. Let's try with the others. And as you go, make sure you hold on to the boots. These can make a nice piece in a diorama, in maybe a grot workshop where they're making the clothes for the orcs, or this can go in a big bucket for a pain boy to be carting around, so they have some spare limbs to hand. If the spacing is bad, I can also adjust their bases accordingly. Because I'm just using layers of plastic and cardboard, I can build up an unevenness in the spaceship floor so that they can sit flat. Looks pretty good. Anyway, after all of that hullabaloo, all that testing of different parts, filing bits down, thinking about what the base could look like in the future, I found this in the Flash Gitz kit. Just an actual prosthetic leg. So I guess you could just do this as well. Perfect. Perfect fit. It's a little jank. Oh. Apart from when he wants to do a soft shoe routine. This looks pretty good from most angles. I think this turned out okay. And it also means that if we go down the left side of his body, got prosthetic eye, prosthetic arm, prosthetic leg.
That's okay, he's all right now.
And there are 20 freebooter boys ready to sail the stars. This should be more than enough of a foundation to keep me fascinated and happy for quite some time. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of this relatively unfocused, hodgepodgey video. I was just really excited to share with you all what I'm doing now. It's been a long time since I've been able to properly invest brain power and hours of the day into doing orc stuff, and I really missed it. And I miss having content to put on this channel as well, so hopefully this will give me a launch pad to do more videos, because I want to be part of the coming Waaagh that's brewing. If we are the big bad guys in 11th edition, and if we do have Total War Warhammer 40k and Dawn of War 4 coming down the pipeline, 2026 is looking like a great year to be an Orcs player, and there's sure to be a massive influx of Orcs fans. I want to be part of that. And I hope you'll be part of that too. So stick around if you like, and thank you again for watching. Bye bye!
Sod off!